As soon as my wife left for her business trip with her lover, I wasted no time. I emptied all of our bank accounts and blocked her number. The following day, her mother called, furious and accusing me of ruining her trip. She yelled, "Because of you, she can't enjoy her time with a real man." I smirked and replied, "If he's a real man, he'll happily pay for her escort services." The gasp on the other end confirmed I had struck a nerve, and I hung up without another word. What would you do if the person you trusted the most betrayed you? I didn't cry, beg, or let it break me. Instead, I took swift action. My revenge left her, her lover, and even her family speechless. When Jessica, my wife, left for what she claimed was a business trip to New York with her lover, I acted immediately. I drained all our joint accounts, blocked her on every platform, and cut her off completely. But what truly made the situation even sweeter was her mother's explosive reaction and the brutal response I gave that left her gasping on the phone. "I'm Eric, a software engineer from Dallas, Texas. For 8 years, I thought I was happily married to Jessica, a marketing manager. Together, we had built what seemed like the perfect life. Our cozy suburban home, 2 nice cars in the driveway, and a relationship that our friends admired. But over time, cracks began to appear. Jessica started working late more often, becoming secretive and keeping her phone glued to her hand. I tried to dismiss these signs, telling myself I was overthinking things. Little did I know, my so-called happy marriage was just a facade ready to collapse. For years, Eric had believed his marriage to Jessica was built on trust and love. They were the couple everyone admired in their seemingly perfect Dallas life. He often thought they were lucky to have everything they had, but gradually small fractures appeared in their relationship. Jessica's warm demeanor and engaging conversations turned into cold distance. Late nights at work became routine, and her phone was always in her hand, the screen angled away from him whenever he entered the room. Eric ignored his suspicions, telling himself he was just being paranoid. But the unease grew stronger each day. Then, one night, everything changed. Jessica fell asleep beside him, her phone resting on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a message notification. Unable to push aside his doubts any longer, Eric picked up the phone, his hands shaking as he scrolled through the messages. What he found shattered him. Texts from a lover filled with affectionate words and detailed plans for their trip to New York, which Jessica had claimed was for work. The betrayal hit him hard. Every ounce of trust, the years of shared memories, and the future he had imagined with her all came crashing down. It wasn't just the affair that stung. It was the ease with which she had lied and deceived him. That night, as Jessica slept soundly beside him, Eric knew everything had changed. His heart was broken, but his mind was already working on a plan, one that would ensure she paid for the pain she had caused. The moment he uncovered the truth, a mix of emotions flooded him. Hurt, anger, disbelief, but most of all, a sense of finality. The woman he had loved and trusted had made her choice, and now it was his turn to make his. As he sat in the silence of their Dallas home, staring at the incriminating texts on her phone, Eric made a decision. He wouldn't cry or beg for an explanation. He wouldn't confront her directly and let her spin more lies. That would be too easy. Instead, he would ensure she fully understood the consequences of her betrayal and strip away the comfort she had taken for granted while deceiving him. Eric's mind quickly shifted from devastation to strategy. He started laying out his plan. The first step was financial. Early the next morning, before Jessica even woke up, Eric logged into their joint accounts and swiftly moved every last dollar into his personal account. It wasn't about greed. It was about taking back control of what he had worked so hard to build. Next, he removed her number from his phone plan and blocked her across all communication channels, calls, texts, and social media, cutting her off entirely. He made sure that when the fallout hit, she would have no way to contact him. Afterward, Eric reached out to a few close friends and family members he trusted. He explained the situation to them, preparing them for the inevitable backlash. He knew Jessica would spin a web of lies, painting herself as a victim, so he wanted to make sure his side of the story was clear from the start. With each step of his plan falling into place, Eric felt a renewed sense of power and clarity. This wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake. It was about regaining control that Jessica had taken from him with her deceit. As the details of his plan aligned, a grim satisfaction washed over him. Jessica thought she was heading off to a romantic getaway with her lover, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to hit. The next chapter of the story was no longer hers to write. It was his. This moment of resolve flowed seamlessly into the next phase, where the consequences of Eric's actions began to unfold, starting with Jessica's unexpected reaction and explosive phone call from her mother. When Jessica left for her business trip to New York, Eric watched her wheel her suitcase to the door, all smiles and perfectly crafted lies. As she kissed him goodbye and walked out, a surge of anger washed over him, but he remained outwardly calm. The second her car disappeared down the driveway, his plan went into motion. He knew she wouldn't suspect anything. She probably thought she had deceived him completely. Little did she know, he was about to dismantle the life she had so carelessly taken for granted. Eric began by logging into their joint bank accounts. His heart raced as he methodically transferred every last penny into his own account. Watching the balance drop to zero gave him no joy in the money itself, but a deep sense of reclaiming control that Jessica had unknowingly given up the moment she betrayed him. He left just enough for her to notice, but not nearly enough to fund her lavish getaway. Next, he blocked her number and removed her from their shared phone plan, ensuring that any attempt she made to reach him would be futile. He also went through their social media connections, cutting her off from his life in every possible way. Once everything was set in place, Eric leaned back and waited. The silence in the house heightened the anticipation. He knew it was only a matter of time before Jessica realized what had happened, and he was ready for the fallout. The image of her sitting in a hotel room with her lover, frantically trying to figure out why her cards were declined and why she couldn't reach him, brought a grim smile to Eric's face. He felt no guilt, no hesitation, just a sense of justice. She had made her choice, and now she would have to face the consequences. As the hours passed, Eric kept an eye on his phone, waiting for the storm to begin. He knew Jessica wouldn't stay silent for long, but he hadn't anticipated the call that would come the next day from someone he hadn't expected. The next morning, as Eric sat with his coffee, reflecting on the events of the previous day, his phone buzzed. Seeing his mother-in-law's name on the screen, he wasn't surprised. Jessica must have realized by now what he had done, and it seemed she had turned to her mother for support. Eric let the phone ring for a moment, mentally preparing himself for the confrontation. When he finally answered, her shrill, angry voice came to the line like a storm. "You selfish bastard!" she screamed, her voice dripping with indignation. "Because of you, Jessica can't enjoy her trip with a real man." The audacity of her words stunned Eric for a moment. Here was a woman defending her daughter's betrayal and even justifying her actions, all while attacking him for standing up for himself. As she ranted on, criticizing Eric for his supposed immaturity and cruelty, he leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing at the corner of his lips. When her tirade finally paused long enough for him to respond, Eric's voice was calm, yet dripping with sarcasm. "If he's such a real man," Eric said, "he'll be happy to cover her escort fees." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Then came the sharp gasp of his mother-in-law, a sound of someone completely caught off guard. That was all Eric needed. Without waiting for her to regain her composure, he ended the call, the smug satisfaction of his words lingering in the air. The exchange had solidified his sense of justice. Not only had he taken control of the situation, but he had also struck a nerve with the very people who thought they could manipulate and shame him into submission. Jessica's betrayal had caused her far more than she had imagined. Her family's outrage proved that they had underestimated him. With his mother-in-law silenced and Jessica stranded without access to him or his resources, Eric felt a weight lift from his shoulders. This confrontation marked the final, satisfying step in his plan, setting the stage for the resolution of the story. The fallout from Eric's actions unfolded quickly and chaotically, just as he had anticipated. Jessica, who had likely been enjoying the early days of her getaway with her lover, was blindsided when her credit cards were declined at the hotel. Confused and frustrated, she tried calling Eric, only to realize she had been blocked. Panic must have set in as she tried to piece together what had happened. Her carefully fabricated business trip lie had unraveled, and now she was stuck with her lover, unable to access any financial backup. But Eric's mother-in-law wasn't finished. After his cutting remark during their phone call, their already strained relationship deteriorated further. She continued to contact him, leaving angry voicemails and texts that alternated between scolding him for his selfishness and begging him to reconsider. To Eric, her desperation was just another reminder of how deeply Jessica's family had enabled her behavior. He ignored every message, unwilling to let their guilt or manipulation pull him back into their toxic dynamic. As for Jessica's lover, the sudden financial burden now fell squarely on his shoulders. No longer just a partner in an affair, he was forced to step up and cover the cost of their trip. The man who had eagerly swooped in to steal another man's wife was now faced with the reality of her baggage. Eric could only imagine the tension between them as their romantic getaway devolved into a logistical nightmare. In the midst of all this, Eric felt an overwhelming sense of emotional liberation. For the first time in years, he was no longer weighed down by the lies, deceit, and the pretense of a happy marriage. Jessica thought she could have it all, her husband's loyalty and her lover's attention. But in the end, she was left with nothing. Eric, on the other hand, finally felt free. The betrayal that had once consumed him now felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the satisfaction of taking back control of his life. This period of reflection marked the conclusion of Eric's journey. Though the road had been painful, the decisions he made allowed him to reclaim his dignity and rebuild his life on his own terms. The story didn't end with mere revenge, but with a man who rose above betrayal to find strength and clarity in the aftermath. As the story reached its conclusion, Eric reflected on the hard lessons he had learned through pain and betrayal. He realized that sometimes walking away is enough to truly heal or reclaim your dignity. Sometimes you have to ensure that those who wronged you feel the weight of their betrayal. For me, Eric mused, this wasn't just about revenge. It was about standing up for myself and making sure Jessica and everyone involved understood the price of their actions. The emotional toll of the affair had been immense, but by taking control and ensuring she felt the fallout, Eric regained a sense of power and closure. Looking forward, Eric had rebuilt his life piece by piece. He was no longer burdened by the lies that once defined his marriage, nor was he weighed down by the expectations of others. He had taken charge of his own happiness, and for the first time in a long time he was content. I've rebuilt my life, and I've never been happier, Eric reflected. As for Jessica, well, let's just say she learned the hard way that you don't bite the hand that feeds you. Her betrayal had cost her everything, and the painful reality of losing Eric taught her a lesson she would never forget. As the story came to a close, Eric turned to the audience directly. "What would you have done in my place?" he asked, encouraging viewers to share their thoughts in the comments below. He ended with a final call to action. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this one. With that, Eric's journey ended, leaving the audience to reflect on the complexity of betrayal, revenge, and the power of reclaiming one's life. Thank you for being a part of this story with me. If it moved you, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Many of you who enjoy these stories aren't subscribed yet. By subscribing, you're not just following the channel. You're joining a community that values deep, meaningful storytelling. Let's continue exploring these heartfelt journeys together. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss our next story.